So my request is don't keep quiet. Okay, please ask questions. If you have any doubts, stop me immediately and ask me the questions. Okay, don't feel shy. If you want to speak in Japanese, no problem. You can ask in Japanese also. Okay, my students are here. They can help me in understanding it in English. Okay, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. This is my request. Okay, so let's go to today's topic. Today's topic is on association rule mining, one of the fundamental topics in data mining. So the outline of today's presentation is as follows. First, we will discuss what is a transactional database. Okay. After that, we look at different representations of a transactional database. So how can we write the same transactional data set in different forms? Then we look at the concept of abstraction, that is matrix. We see the data sets as a simple matrix. Afterwards, we talk about frequent patterns, then what is the search space, the mining algorithm, and finally, we end the presentation with association rules. Okay, so this will be the agenda of today's class. So let us talk about transactional database. So I tried to explain the transactional database with an example, okay, so that all of you can understand. Okay, so assume I am having a supermarket. Okay, so this is my supermarket. In this supermarket, I am selling 6 items. Okay, pen, books, beer, bread, cheese, and milk. I am selling 6 items in my supermarket. Some message. Presentation is not full screen. Okay, just a minute. What just happened? Now, can you see my presentation in the full screen?
Yes.
So if you have any problem or issues with the Zoom, please let me know. Okay. So we have the items and customers are going to come and they are going to purchase the items. Okay. So now let us take this example. So in my supermarket, I am selling these 6 items: bread, milk, butter, beer, pen, and books. Now, among you students, I need someone okay, so I need 10 students who has to tell me what items they will purchase in my supermarket. So one of you, please tell me what items you are going to purchase. Students, unmute yourself and try to tell me which items you will purchase.
Bread,
Just a minute. Okay, bread.
milk,
Okay.
and butter.
So 3 items,
Yes.
one customer. So what about the second person? Anyone?
Pen and books.
Pen and books. Only 2 items? Okay.
Yes.
Next.
Books, beer, bread.
Books. Okay. Next.
Bread, butter, beer, and books. Yeah.
Okay. Next person.
Bread, milk, and books.
Next.
Only bread.
Okay. No problem. 7. Okay. Now any women? Female students?
Beer and milk.
Hmm?
Beer and milk.
Beer, B or beer, I think. Right? Not BE, BE. Next.
Bread, milk, and books.
Nine.
Milk and books.
10. Last one. 오너너 거가 아리마스까?
Kota-san.
Okay, so here you can choose any woman and ask her to give the output. So females.
Kota-san, could you please choose? She did not choose. Kota Kashimura-san.
No? Okay. Someone else, please tell me the 10th one.
Bread, beer, and pen, and books.
Thank you. Okay. So if you see here, some of you have purchased some items. Okay. So whenever you are purchasing the items, okay, you pay the money. Okay. So that will create something called transaction. Okay. So whenever you purchase the items, it creates a transaction. Similarly, if you are clicking some videos in the YouTube, it will create a transaction. Transaction is nothing but set of items. Next, the collection of the transactions is called transactional database. Okay, so this is the one. So this is one transaction, this is another transaction. So we have 10 transactions and we have one database. So what we will do now is, let us define the transactional database. So a transaction is a set of items. Remember, when I say a set, then it means no duplicates, can't contain any duplicate. This is the meaning. Okay, so if you want to say bread, jam and bread, no, you can't call it as a set. Okay, set can be only bread, jam. Okay, even when you are studying the sets in your school days, you will always see as this, right? A is A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, you don't see set as A, C, D, something like that. We don't see like this. Okay, because a set can't have duplicates. Remember this thing in your minds. Okay, so a transaction is a set of items. Now a transactional database is a set of transactions. So that is the thing. Very simple. Having learned it, now let us look at a visualization. So in what are the different ways in which we can represent? What are the common forms? Okay. So until now, we have written the data like this form. Okay. So we have the customers and the customers are purchasing the items. So that has created the transactional database. Okay. This data set can also be represented in a columnar format. Okay. So if you are familiar with Python, you can call it as a data frame. Okay, or tabular format, whichever you want. Tabular format. So in the tabular format, you put items here. Okay, so the top is going to be items. The rows are going to be identifiers. Now what we do is, whenever a customer makes a transaction, we put 1. For other items, we put 0. Okay. So here, if you see here, this customer has purchased bread, milk, butter, and beer. So what we do is, for milk is 1. For butter, it is 1. For beer, it is 1. For other things, it's 0. Okay. So in this way, we specify the same. Okay. So both are one and the same. That is why if you see my figure, I am putting the twins. Okay. They look identical. Okay. But don't get confused. They are one and the same. Okay. What we call this is called horizontal. And this is called vertical data. So we have horizontal database and we have a vertical data. Okay, and if you are familiar with Python, you can think this as normal data frame. Okay, so DF, and this is similar to sparse data frame. If you don't know about sparse data frame, take a look. Okay, so the advantage of sparse data frame is you have many zeros, okay, in the data set. You can completely remove these data sets. So that is the advantage. So that is the purpose. Okay. So any doubts until now? Especially regarding horizontal database and vertical database. Sometimes this is also called columnar. Okay, just multiple names, but they mean the same thing. Horizontal, columnar. So once you looked at the data sets, the moment you understood the data set, okay, now what we will, shall we go to here or let us pass? So assume, what is the first transaction? Can someone tell me? Okay. So bread means, so let us write here. Bread. So these are all the items. Bread, milk, butter, pen, books. Okay. So the first transaction is bread, milk, butter. So bread is 1, milk is 1, butter is 1, pen is 0, books is 0. Next, pen and books. So this bread is 0, milk is 0, butter is 0, pen and books. Next one is books and bread. So bread is 1, milk is 0, butter is 0, pen is 0, book is 1. Okay. So this is called columnar database. I hope now you understand. So this is the representations. So now we look at the most important point, that is abstraction of the data sets into something called matrix. The student who understands this concept, okay, he can understand entire machine learning and everything, because every learning algorithm revolves around the concept of matrices. So try to understand how to convert the real world into a matrix. Okay. Because of this matrix structure only, Python has become famous, because you simply store the data in the form of a data frame. Okay. Once you create the data frame, you can just input that data frame to any machine learning algorithm to extract patterns or prediction or classification. So you should understand this matrix. To understand, let us take this example. Okay. So you have a supermarket which is producing supermarket data, that is purchase data. Similarly, for the sensor network, okay, so we have different sensors. They keep collecting the data, measurement data. Okay, so today the temperature is this much, rainfall is this much, humidity is this much, something. Okay. Similarly, we have healthcare application where we store the data in the database. Now, my question to all students is, for the learning algorithm, okay, do they see the data as different data sets, or they look as similar data sets? Okay, so for the learning algorithm, are the above three data sets similar or dissimilar? What is your opinion? Please tell me. Come on. What do you think? I am giving you three data sets: purchase data, measurement data, and healthcare data. Do you see these data sets as similar or dissimilar structurally?
Similar.
Okay, what are, so anyone who thinks about dissimilar?
I think similar.
My students should not answer the questions because you already know the answers. If anyone thinks they are dissimilar? No? Okay. So the answer is they are similar. Okay? Because a learning algorithm will never care your application. It does not have the common sense to understand your application. It only thinks the data as a matrix. So there is some matrix, okay, in different shapes, maybe sparse or maybe dense, but it's just a matrix. So when we develop the algorithms or models, okay, so we simply assume data exists in the form of a matrix. So how do we think? Okay, so supermarket data sensor, we think it is simply a multi-dimensional matrix. Okay, 1 cross 1, 1 cross n, m cross n, or multi-dimensional m cross n cross p. So this is how we visualize. And for these matrices, we will develop models. Okay, so next time when you see the things, okay, just imagine they are one and the same. Okay. So from next moment onwards, until now I explained you like this, okay, milk, bread, okay, beer, okay, car, bus, sensor 1, sensor 2, like this we have. Okay, from my request to you people is, don't see the real world like this. Dame, please don't see like this. Okay, see everything in the abstract. Okay, so you simply see them as A, B, C, D. A can be anything, B can be anything, C can be anything. It does not matter. See the data sets in the abstract way. Okay, so you will get into matrix. So from now on in my class, I will be using this nomenclature, okay, A, B, C, D only, so that you people will understand. Okay. Now, having defined this generalized one, okay, now the important thing is, in these data sets, okay, there is some hidden information. So now you learned how to see the data as a matrix. Okay, now you have domain experts like supermarket managed people or someone who will come to you. Okay, and then they will ask you, please help me in finding the knowledge in the data set. So this is the role of a data analyst and a data scientist. Okay, so this is the requirement. Help me in improve understanding the customer's purchase behavior. So your task will be how to analyze purchase data. Okay, so this is the problem you will be facing. So in 1993, around that period, when computer scientists have faced with this problem, how do we analyze supermarket data or very large voluminous data. One scientist, okay, his name is Rakesh Agarwal. Okay, so he proposed the first data mining technique. At that time, there was no database data mining field. So he published the first paper on association rule mining in a database conference. Okay, so he said we can mine association rules. So he is the person. So the moment he introduced this topic, association rule mining, a new field has emerged. Okay, that field is called data mining, and now it converted into big data analytics. Okay, over the evolution, it changed. So now your question is how to perform association rule mining, which is the topic of today's class. How do we do that? The solution is we do association rule mining in 2 steps. One is called finding frequent patterns, and the next one is called extracting rules from frequent patterns. So remember it, association rules are extracted in the 2 steps. One is frequent patterns and another one is the rule. Why we do it in 2 steps, I will explain later. Okay, but this topic, frequent pattern, so when he introduced it, he saw frequent pattern mining as a step. Okay, but due to its popularity and importance in the real world, frequent pattern mining became the top research topic. How to extract different patterns. So this sub-step itself became a very big research topic, and people like me are still today working on this topic. Okay, so let us look at what is a frequent pattern. Okay, so if you see the figure, you can see there is a cube, okay, with patterns. So it is a representation of the topic. So to understand frequent pattern, let us use simple terms. Okay, so first one, I1, I2, I3 be the set of items. So this is how we look at the things. Okay, so capital I means some items. So in this data set, okay, shown in this table, okay, I is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So if you see here, there are items from A to H. Now, when I call an item set or a pattern, it means a subset. A subset of items is called a pattern. Okay, so A is a pattern, AB is a pattern, A, B, C, D, E, H is also a pattern. So all combinations is a pattern. Remember it. Okay, so we have items and we have a pattern or an item set. So we use these 2 terms synonymously. Okay, so you can call a item set, is it okay? Pattern is also okay. Now, when we define a transaction, we say it as a collection of transaction identifier and then the pattern. Okay, so remember this. T is TID comma X, where X is a pattern. And similarly, a transactional database is a collection of transactions, T1, T2, so on up to Tm. This is the meaning of a transactional database. So until now, I showed you with the example. Okay, so this example is now converted into sets. Okay, mathematically we are now talking in terms of sets. Okay, I, X, T and TDP. Once we define the transactional database, now what we do is we measure the frequency of a pattern. So what is the frequency of AB? If we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So the frequency is of AB is 8 times. What it means is in the entire data set, the pattern AB has appeared 8 times. Once we know the frequency, we calculate something called support. So the formula is frequency of a pattern by database size. Okay, so we get support. This support is called basically normalization. Normalization. It means any value, okay, minus infinity to plus infinity values can be kept in some range, within particular range. That is called normalization. We have values from minus infinity, but you try to put it within some range. For example, in this case, I am putting it in between 0, 1. So here you can see the value is between 0, 1 or 0 to 100%. So this is called normalization. Okay. Once we do it, we say X is a frequent pattern if support of X is greater than user specified minimum support or min support. So this is how we define a frequent pattern. Okay. So if minimum support is greater than, so this is the user specified. If minimum support is greater than 35%, then AB is a frequent pattern because its support is greater than 35%. Clear? Any doubts in the understanding? So I know the model. Okay, so model is find all frequent patterns in the data set. Now the challenge is how do I search? Okay, data sets are very huge and there can be thousands of items. How do I search and find? To understand that, we should understand something called search space. So assume I have 4 items, A, B, C, D. Okay, the combinations of all of these items will give you the search space. This is also called lattice. So if you are familiar with mathematics, this is called lattice. Okay. So we can generally, when we are talking about it, we call it item set lattice. So can you tell me the size of this lattice? Count the what is the size? Count the elements in this lattice. Can anybody tell me how many are there? There are 4 items. Okay. So these 4 items gave you how many item sets? Please count. What is the number? Count. Okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But this is empty set. So you remove. So 4 items have given rise to 15 item sets or patterns. Okay. So do you see any relationship between the items and the lattice size? Can anyone establish the relationship? In Facebook and all, you get this twist, right? 4 items are equivalent to 15 item sets. Then n items are equivalent to how many item sets? Okay. Can anybody solve this puzzle? Except my students, because they know the answer. So they are not unknown.
N
Others.
power 2 minus 1.
Huh?
N power 2 minus 1.
N power 2 minus 1. Wrong. Okay, for this one it is okay. But what happens if I give you 3 items?
Factorial n minus 1.
No.
No?
Mhm. Kazuki-san, you are close by, but this close, but not this one. So others? Come on, answer it. One more try. Anyone wants to make one last try? We are running out of time. No? Okay. It is just opposite, 2 power n minus 1. Remember, the lattice size is always going to be 2 power n minus 1. Okay. You can do it. Why n minus 1? Because empty set. We remove this one. Because in the sets, empty set is a set of every set. So we don't take this one. Okay. So we remove. So it becomes 2 power n minus 1. Right. This lattice is also called, it has a very good name in data mining. It is called cube. Okay. Such space, lattice, cube are same. And I will show you why we call it cube. The structure will be very interesting. So I am taking only 3 items. Okay. To understand the cube, let me take 3 items. Okay. And let me draw. So this is empty set, and I have items A, B, C. Now let us draw its combinations. A, B, A, C, B, C, A, B, C. Okay. Now if I connect them, you see the shape it is forming. AB is over. So now I am drawing the shape of AC. Can you see the shape of a cube?
Yes.
Okay. So this is called cube. So the dimensionality of the cube is called 2 power n minus 1. Okay. A cube is a n dimensional. Sorry, not 2 power n minus 1. A cube is an n dimensional. So when I was an undergraduate like you, and anyone who wants to go for a job in data mining field, this was the first question people will ask. What is the dimensionality of a cube? So people who don't know much of the subject, they simply say cube is a 3-dimensional. Okay, but no, this is just for humans to understand. Okay, the cube is n-dimensional. This is also a cube, remember. Okay, this is also called cube, n-dimensional. Okay, so now I have explained to you the cube. Now what we have to do is, given this cube, okay, we have to search the entire lattice. Okay, so how do we do that? One is you do depth first search. If you have done artificial intelligence, then these things will come. DEFS, depth first search. Okay, so you can do depth first search, or you can do breadth first search, BFS. Okay, now you understood. Okay, how many of you remember depth first search and breadth first search? When you are learning the things, you may not have understood. Okay, but they are designed for the cube structures. So if you are, I told you, if you are learning artificial intelligence in the second year, you will be covering these topics. Okay, breadth first search, depth first search. What are they? They are basically the techniques to search the cube. Okay, that is why. So now what we have to do is, we will be doing the search based on the cube. So we have to do it. Okay. So now here is the thing. Frequent pattern mining is a very challenging task. Okay. Because its power space is 2 power n minus 1. Okay, so then how do I do that? So before going, I give an application. Okay. Assume I am the owner of a shop. Okay. And I have only 1,000 items in my shop. Okay. Now Assume each item set. Okay, this is philosophical question. Okay, so big researchers, when they talk about the computation, they think like this. Each item set can be stored in one electron. Okay, so each item set information, I will put it in one electron. Now I will give you the universe of electrons, the known universe. Okay, so all the electrons in my universe. Now the question is, can you store the lattice in the universe of electrons? Can we store? Yes or no? Everyone, please answer it in the chat. So I am giving you the universe to store. Okay. So you can store each item set in one electron. So the number of electrons I am giving you is the universe. Okay. Assume I have the technology to store data in electrons. Now tell me, can I store this many? Can I store the item set of 10,000 items in the universe? If anyone don't understand my question, okay, you can ask me, I will try to explain. If anyone knows Japanese, I think Nakamura-san, can you explain this question in Japanese?
あーっと、うーんと、
難しい?
I don't know universe.
No, okay. The question is simple. No. If you say no, why? Many people are saying no. Why? I am giving you only 1,000 items. Okay. Okay, 1,000 is big number. I don't give 1,000 also. I will give only 400 items. Okay. So I'm giving you only 400 items. And I want you to store the lattice in the electrons that are known to us. Okay, in the electrons of the universe. Can we store the lattice or not? Come on, I have received only 2. I need the answer. Why do you think it is Muri? If it is Daijobu, then you have to tell me why. I have received only 3 chat messages. Any answer? How many of you say yes? Okay. I have to tell the answer. Yeah. So one of the student is saying because 2 power 400 is bigger than 10 power 120. What is 10 power 120? Son?
Yes.
What is 10 power 120?
I used calculator.
Hmm.
So
No, 10 power 120 was nano number deska. Another message there. I must 10 power 120. Okay, anyway, I think your answer is somewhat close by. Okay, so this is where the things happen. So the number of electrons, okay, known in the universe is approximately 2 power 300. So if you want to store the data in the electrons, if we even have such a technology, okay, we can at most store 2 power 300. Other than that, we cannot. So this is the basis, our limiting factor. For quantum computing. If you are going to study any course on quantum computing, you will often get this number. Okay. So if you want to have states beyond 2 power 300, Muri, we can't have it because that is the limit. Okay. But if you go to e-commerce sites or any other shops, they generally have items more than 300, right? Generally, if you go to any supermarket like Yoki Beni Maru, number of items are going to be more than 400. Okay, so we cannot do it. So this is when, okay, I put the Einstein, but this is where the Agarwal came into the picture. He proposed something called a priori property. Okay, a priori. So this is two words. Priori means before. Okay, a priori means before property. So the logic is very simple. Okay, so this is one example. Assume there are two students. Okay, one is boy and another one girl. Okay, the boy came to the school 4 days. Okay, the girl came to the school 5 days. Now the question is, guess. Okay, guess maximum number of days both may have attended the school together. Okay, so the boy appeared 4 days, the girl appeared 5 days. Now what you have to see is maximum number of days both the girl and the boy have appeared. The formula we use is very simple. You take the minimum one because the boy appeared 4 days. Both of them together can't appear more than 4 days. So this is the fundamental principle. Okay. Now the question is, if I set minimum support as 5, okay, now whether they will pass the test, the combination, they can't pass the combination because he failed the test. So all his combinations will fail the test. Okay. It's like a COVID. Okay. So if he failed or if he got COVID, whomever he combines with, they will also get the COVID. Okay. So it is like, so one fails the test, the others fail the test. So this is the property. Okay. If a pattern satisfies the threshold, then only its supersets satisfy the threshold. Otherwise, they all will fail. So now let us look at the beauty of this property. Okay. So this is our lattice. I think I'm going super fast. I think I have to stop here. Frequent pattern mining I will cover in the next class. We will stop here. So if one fails the test, okay, AB fails the test, all the supersets also fail the test. This is called a priori property or downward closure property. Okay, we call it downward closure because as you go down one phase, everything in the down phase. So it is called downward closure property. Okay. When we talked about the breadth first search and depth first search algorithms, we will cover them in the next class. Okay. So whatever we have covered, it's okay. So I will start.